automakers yesterday, ordering 7,000 more workers to walk off the job in both Illinois and Michigan. UAW's president says Ford and GM are refusing to make meaningful progress in contract talks. General Motors CEO blames union leaders, while Ford accuses the UAW of holding up a deal mainly over union representation at electric vehicle battery plants. The walkout started 15 days ago. Now, speaking of that strike, a small group of local supporters rallied in support of UAW auto workers here in San Francisco today. They took their message to the GM Cruise lot on 10th Street at Bryant.
We're here today in solidarity with the UAW strikers and calling for their victory, and also contending that GM would tell its crews actually not fire workers.
They claim Cruise is trying to destroy thousands of drivers' jobs with their robo-taxis that are blocking the streets of San Francisco. Supporters say the UAW is fighting for everyone when it calls for better benefits, a shorter work week, and higher pay.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Come on now, which side are you on? See, the auto workers striking now for a future they create. They bailed out GM, Ford, and Chrysler in 2008. This strike's about the future and about the past. UAW bailed out automakers and debts they had amassed. What did GOP do? GOP cried socialism. Let's make automakers fail. Free market takes care of everything, cause everything's for sale. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
My name is Steve Zeltzer. I'm a member of the Pacific Media Workers Guild, a rank and file member, a CWA, and this issue of AI, automation, robotics is an issue for the entire working class. Not just auto workers, but writers, Screen Actors Guild, millions of workers in this country. So our rally, our solidarity rally today for the UAW strikers is not just about them, it's about all working people. And we are going to be taking up a fight. The UAW is fighting for a COLA. Every worker in this country should have a COLA. Every worker, because of the inflation. They're fighting against two tiers. Every worker should not to be working with somebody at the same job at less pay. We need equal pay for equal work. I mean, that's a basic human right for working people in this country and around the world. And they're fighting, the UAW is leading the fight against tiers. So it's a national issue. And the rest of the trade union movement, the government may shut down tomorrow, throwing millions of workers without pay. And the people who need healthcare workers, airport workers, they're being told to work without pay. That is outrageous that this government would tell workers they have to work without pay. But that's what they think of working people. And that's what they want to do. They want to destroy working people and destroy our lives and conditions. And on the 4th, the Kaiser workers will be going on strike. 88,000 Kaiser workers throughout the West Coast. What are they demanding? Safe staffing. Now, you would think Kaiser with $40 billion would be able to provide safe staffing, but they're not, because they want that money in the pockets of executives. We need public worker control of Kaiser. We need public worker control of the healthcare system in this country. That is what is necessary. We need healthcare for all. And this is something we have to fight for, because it's a basic human right to have health care. Now, this struggle is also here in San Francisco because General Motors owns Cruise. And Cruise has put out hundreds of robo-taxis on the road, and they've been injuring people. They've been causing traffic jams. And the reason they're doing it is they want to get rid of drivers. They want to get rid of millions of drivers. And Gavin Newsom just vetoed AB 316, which said that you had to have a driver if you have a truck over 10,000 pounds. Why would he veto a bill like that? Do you want to be on the highway with a robo truck of 10,000 pounds with no driver? That's dangerous to the working people. It's dangerous to the pedestrians. But Gavin Newsom, like Biden, is controlled by these tech companies. That's what we're saying. They're controlled by the billionaires, and that's why we have to organize to unite the working class. Our view is, and I'm with the United Front Committee for a Labor Party, we need a Labor Party, a working class party. Also, we need to unite all workers in this country, and an answer to the shutdown, government shutdown, we should have a general strike. Shut down the whole country, and then we'll negotiate. That's really what we need, and I think the struggles that are going on, we have to unite them. So our first speaker is Edward Escobar. He's with Alliance for Independent Workers. Welcome, Edward.
Thanks for coming out. Appreciate the support. And we're here to say, si se puede, yes we can, make a huge difference. I am a driver also as well. You can probably tell by my attire. But it's the hashtag Drivers Unite movement. And also, too, we are collaborating with the hashtag Truckers Unite, independent truckers throughout the country. Their jobs are in jeopardy. We were in Sacramento recently, and we were there supporting Teamsters AB 316, and that would require a human driver in the truckers, the 10,000 plus pound vehicles. But actually, Teamsters did speak about the need to have control over this rampant roughshod of AI technology riding over society. And basically it starts here, because this is ground zero. This is the Hollywood of tech. And we need to put the brakes on this. We are not against tech. Just want to clarify, but we are against tech that benefits the few at the expense of many. And what's happening here is a travesty. Right here, when they let the genie out of the bottle, it goes globally like a virus. And so we want to make sure that we, the people, are heard. I want to make reference, there's a sign behind me. The National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration, which is a part of the Department of Transportation, that's Pete Buttigieg, by the way. He heads that. Their saying is, people saving people. People saving people. That's what we're doing here today. We are people saving people. We need the government, which is supposed to be of the people, by the people, for the people. They need to step up their game and stand with us and basically represent us, because they are supposed to be the voice of democracy, right? What's happened to that? Does it still exist? That's what we're practicing here today, people, is democracy. You come out, you speak, you get heard, and you deliver a message, but together we can make a difference. People are very intimidated by companies like GM, by Google. They feel that their voice can't be heard. I'm here to tell you, yes it can. Yes it can be heard. And we're proof of that. We've helped to change the course of history right here. We have started this. And why? These are real life scenarios. These are human situations. This is the ethical dilemma and the liability that we talked about. That these are grave concerns. That's at the heart of it. Of course, there's cyber terrorism, cyber hacking. There's also the human costs, the social costs, the displacement of workers by the billions we're going to be looking at. By the billions. In Goldman Sachs report, they stated 350 million displaced globally. UC Berkeley studies stated 600 plus transport workers would be displaced. Nationally, you're looking at trucking combined with Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, and delivery. You're looking at easily close to 8 million workers. Easily. So is this just about drivers? No, it's not. This is really about the future of work. And the future of work we want to make sure is there for the workers. For the workers. A future of work for the workers. But we have to make sure that that happens. The government's not going to do it for us. We called upon the San Francisco County DA to press charges, manslaughter charges, against Waymo, against Cruise, these companies that their vehicles are shutting down in the streets. They're blocking emergency vehicles. If you or I did that, our cars would be impounded. If we were at the vehicle, we'd be taken to jail and prosecuted. Is there two levels of justice here, people? No, there's not two levels of justice. So what's good for us is good for them. So we need to stand united. I'm Edward Escobar. I'm the founder of the Alliance for Independent Workers, Drivers Unite movement. Thank you. Si se puede. Yes, we can make a difference.
this issue of solidarity is critical because there's strikes going on all over this country. There's a massive strike wave developing. So these strikes are about justice, about human rights, about living wages. And one of the biggest strikes in the history of California was of the UAW 2865 graduate students and researchers who went on strike. It was their first strike. Many of them had never been in a union, much less being on strike before. But the conditions that they face are impossible to live in California. And we have one of the members of that union who's joining us from UC Berkeley. Welcome Ali, who's a member of 2865, and they're under continual attack, even after the strike.
Make some noise, people! Yeah! Let's make some noise for my union brothers and sisters in the UAW striking out in a bunch of GM and Ford and Chrysler plants. Let's make some noise. Come on. UAW. When we fight, we win. And we are going to win this fight as well. I am from UAW 2865. We are organized in the UAW. We are UC academic workers. A lot of us have been living near or under poverty line. Before this strike, our top yearly salary was about $35,000 a year. I'm asking you, in the conditions of the Bay Area, you know how damn high the rent is. What kind of money is that? Poverty. It's poverty. So thousands upon thousands of academic workers, we went on strike about a year ago, and we won some concessions. It was like a half-hearted victory. It wasn't a total victory. We didn't get all the things that we wanted. By the way, things we wanted were things like, cost of living adjustments and whatnot. Not too radical of demands, unfortunately. But we won some things. Now they come back to us and butcher the little things that we gain through some loophole in the contract, through some legalistic nonsense, by reclassifying our jobs into a different pay bracket. I'm going to give you a small info. Guess who the biggest employer of this state is? Do you think it's GM? Do you think it's Google? It is the UC. We are striking up against this one big corporation because that's what it is. It has less and less to do with education. It has less and less to do with human development. It has more and more to do to extract profits out of students, out of undergrads, and out of also land ownership, and also out of our damn labor. We are striking up against the biggest corporation, the biggest employer of California. And they're squeezing every bit of penny out of us right now. I'm telling you, or I'm asking you, is this playing by the rules? No. Is this ethical? No. Is this acceptable? No. Louder! Is this acceptable? No. Is this acceptable? No. Can I get a boo for the UC collectively? Boo! We're asking for all of your support. Be in touch. More actions are probably to come. But I just want to say this. I am proud to be a UAW member. My union brothers and sisters are striking out against some of the biggest corporations of the world out there in the car plants. And we are striking out against the biggest employer here in California. I've never been prouder to be a UAW member in my life. Thank you very much. Victory to the working class!
So brothers and sisters, a member of AFT 2121, welcome Rick Baum.
My name is Rick Baum. I've been teaching part-time at City College of San Francisco for 25 years. And I guess I'll sound like an educator today rather than give a fiery speech. I do want to say that everything that I'm hearing today comes down to one word that I'm not hearing anyone mention, which is capitalism and how capitalism works. You know, under capitalism, there's displacement of workers by technology. So technology is, rather than being used to give us more free time, to make our lives better, is used to oppress people and displace workers and impoverish them. And so I think that's a lot of what we're dealing with today. I especially like some of the demands being put forward by the United Auto Workers in their strike, so I'd like to highlight them. The three that really impressed me is the idea of a 32-hour work week. By this day and age, our work week should be shorter. It used to be 60 hours. It's been reduced officially to 40, and 32 is something that we should be demanding. I know it's been demanded in France for a number of years. The second thing I like is COLA for everyone. Most workers in this country have experienced a decline in the purchasing power of the wages that they are paid. They have not kept up with increases in the cost of living. That is detrimental to their living standards, and so the fact that the UAW is putting forward COLA increases is a very important one and should be strongly supported by all of us so that we can maintain our living standards. The one, though, that really gets to me, to my heart, is the one against a two-tier contract. That is what I work under in higher education, that the bulk of teachers these days are on a second tier in which we are paid much less than other teachers doing the same exact work for which we are equally qualified. So even at City College, that has one of the best situations for part-time faculty, if you add in my pay and benefits compared to a full-time teacher per class, it's probably at about 60%. In some places, it's even much lower than that. The fact that they are opposed to these two-tier contracts is very important and should be supported because it's not unique to people in higher education. It's across the board, and it's detrimentally affecting all of us. In education, not only are we paid less, have inferior benefits, but we have absolutely no job security. We're called contingent or part-timers or temporary workers, and this is a terrible situation not only for workers but for their students because we can't give them the type of attention that we should be giving them. So I especially appreciate all efforts to end these two-tier contracts. I hate using this kind of expression, but they're contrary to American values, the values of equality. Our country is supposed to be based on equality. Two-tier contracts are quite contrary to equality. They also are demoralizing for workers. They give management opportunities to be more profitable by hiring lower paid workers and getting rid of their senior-most workers, and that is why two-tier contracts have to be fought. Now, I also want to say the last thing I'll say is about what the UAW is fighting for. From what I've seen, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but they really have to be going beyond wages and benefits and things like that, because we're living in a world right now where the environment is seriously threatened. That should require the retooling of our auto factories, as was done during World War II for the war effort. Many of the factories were dominated by the government that required that they be retooled so that instead of producing cars, they would be producing tanks and other military vehicles. Well, we need to do the same thing with regards to our environment. That it's terrible to continue to have, as you can look around here, all these humongous cars that burn tremendous amount of fossil fuel. I drive one myself, I will admit that. But we need to transform the economy and retool these factories, and so I would wish that they'd be putting forward those kinds of demands at the same time they're putting forward labor demands, which I fully embrace. So thank you very much.
There was some music coming out of this facility, and it became an issue what was going on. And it turns out that one of the workers here was playing some music. I happen to like the music. It was nice music, actually. But in any event, this worker was fired by a subcontractor of this company, Cruz, for playing music. But he had previously said he had health and safety concerns. So welcome him today to our rally.
Hi, thank you for having me. First and foremost, I want to apologize to all the speakers. Yes, I unfortunately made the dumb decision to be a clown and entertain all my coworkers The head of security was laughing, fist bumping me, everything. But immediately when that happened, I got called up to a meeting, and I said, like, I know what this is about. I know I'm going to get fired. I hold no ill will towards my managers at Cruise. They're really good people. They did the best they could for me, but in the end, the decision came from either Cruise or our contracting agency, Iconma, Adecco, STS Aviation. All of these companies do not even reside in California, but through legal loopholes and tiny jurisdictions, they are able to predatorily attack their workers. We are constantly reminded that we are expendable, useless, and our dignity is non-existent. Unfortunately, I am stuck between both places. I see a lot of good coming with these technologies. My main goal is to educate the people and my immediate community, Latinos. We need to know how these technologies work because they're coming. They're going to make our lives better for all of us. But Kyle Vogt, the CEO, founder of Twitch, Justin TV, back 10 years ago, this person, he is the richest man in San Francisco, and he owns the biggest mansion here. I've spoken to this man directly, so there's good and bad in Cruise. It's a very open workspace until you question authority. And I own up to what I did. I don't even believe in saying that I'll face nothing. I made a mistake, but there was never any explanation. There was never any disciplinary action. And when I called to ask why I was being fired, my direct supervisor told me to not to my face, but on the phone, he said, we don't have to give you any information whatsoever. So that to me is a clear and blatant disregard for our lives. Managers have told us to not take bathroom breaks. That's illegal. So you know what's coming? They have to obey the law. No one person nor company can be above the law because we are the ones making the money for them. We are the ones who know how this operates. I personally know how to engage and disengage these cars, how to track them, where they're going, how many are out in the street all the time. So, who's got the power? Thank you.
His contribution today or speech today shows that actually the workers who work there themselves are repressed by this company. Cruise uses a subcontractor. And this is what the UAW workers are fighting actually, because at UAW plants today, they've subcontracted out the cleaners and they work for another company at substandard wages. And these workers are discriminated against. So they're doing work that should be UAW auto plant work, but they're working in substandard wages. And the health and safety, that he has been attacked, spit on by people who are angry about these cars stopping in the middle of the street. And Cruise's response is, everything's fine, no problems. Our next speaker is Megan.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me to speak. We came down here from Sacramento, and I wanted to come because I'm an environmentalist. And I support labor, and environmentalists and labor are together. We are for the same thing. Screw those people that want to divide us. We are for the same thing. We are for shorter work weeks and pay that's a living wage, and we need to stop the billionaires from turning everything to shit. And we need a just transition. And all the new EV cars, those EV batteries, those need to be made by union labor everywhere.
What we believe is that, in fact, the environment needs to be protected, but it can't be protected by the billionaires who control the energy companies and utilities, because they make more money by selling more fuel, fossil fuel. They make more money by selling more electricity. They're not interested in saving the environment. In fact, the war in Ukraine and these wars around the world is actually adding to the inferno that we face. When these bombers, these jets, the bombs are creating havoc around the world. Wars are dangerous to the environment. They never talk about that. The Democrats and Republicans in Congress, let's give more money. In fact, today they're having a discussion about Ukraine, giving more money to the war in Ukraine. like people are dying in the streets of San Francisco, and they're going to give more money to Ukraine. I mean, this is capitalism, it's imperialism, it's war, and it's all connected because the workers in this country and the world really have to take control of the energy industry, of the utility industry to protect our environment. Now, another issue that's very critical, and we talked about it as far as two tiers, is what's going on in San Francisco and around this country. Because what they're doing is, the bosses, the Democrats and the capitalists, is they're saying we're going to have other people do the work of public workers. And these are nonprofits. So in San Francisco, they have these private-public partnerships where they have business districts, and they bring in workers to do public work, cleaning the streets at substandard wages, $17, $16 an hour. This is all over San Francisco, and the Democrats refuse to do anything about it. As well, the nonprofits get over $1 billion in San Francisco. They're doing public work, these nonprofits, but they're not paid public wages. It's a way of union busting. It's a way of attacking the working class and busting the unions, and the civil service unions particularly. Ricardo Ortiz, welcome Ricardo Ortiz. He's with the United Front Committee for Labor Party.
This company right here is owned by a multinational, multi-billionaire company, okay? And I wanna get facts for you to know about the power and the evilness of this company and companies. One thing it is that last year GM had record profits, and their greediness is so much that they don't want to raise the salaries of these striking workers. And recently, the government that is ruling our country, a couple of months ago, gave $800 billion for the war in Ukraine. And I tell you how, a couple of examples how these companies are involved. Recently, GM got contracts for over $200 million to make a series of light infantry vehicles to be used in Ukraine and in America's crazy wars abroad. Okay? And they say that there's no money for schools, for healthcare, for all the needs that housing, all the needs that workers need in this country. But there are millions of dollars for the defense industrial complex. We should call it the murderous industrial complex. Ford Motor Company, with a long history of supporting regimes and building military equipment for the U.S. government, recently was awarded more contracts to develop high technology to be used against people right here and abroad. Actually, those light infantry vehicles that I mentioned that were awarded in contracts for the U.S. military, the local police are using these vehicles. And what are they getting these, high-tech military vehicles? Because they want to use it against us in the near future when we go out in the streets to demand for our rights and for our grievances. That's how things are being worked in this country right now by these companies. They want to phase out and throw out of work taxi drivers, Uber and Lyft and other drivers. And what is going to happen with these families? They obviously are going to join the numbers of homeless people in the streets in this country and elsewhere. These vehicles have shown that they are dangerous. They have killed people in accidents. They are now good. If somebody that is a disabled person needs assistance to get in these vehicles, a robot cannot help them. That is a proven fact. So we gotta face this craziness out. Stop giving money to the industrial complex. Workers have to take charge of the production of goods in this country. I give you an example. Many years ago, more than a decade ago, in Argentina, there was an economic crisis. And workers start occupying factories. And you know what things they did? They start creating jobs. They start giving support and a medical assistant in this initiative, grassroots initiatives. Unfortunately, they didn't do the important thing that was taking over the capitalist state and smash it and transform society and confiscate the property. But those examples show what are the interests of workers. Workers want to help their fellow human being. And the capitalists, that they are the ones that decide everything that is going to happen in the economy, they want to build instruments of death, of war, of misery, of division. So we gotta get rid of this evil system, and it's called capitalism. We gotta start talking about the roots of the problem. We gotta tell the working class that unless we get rid of this evil, crazy, worthless system, we are gonna continue to be exploited. Victory to the striking workers. Down with the military-industrial complex.
I also wanted to do a shout out to Mike Stout. He's in Pittsburgh. He's going to come. He's going to be. He's the labor troubadour. He's got about 22 CDs out. He's an amazing guy. So he was. They had a movie made about him. He was one of the major movers and shakers in the Pittsburgh steel history in the 1990s. And so he wrote, songs about that and so on. Also, my name is Pat Fahey. I have a show on KXSF FM 102.5 called Megatrends. And I've been doing, the last couple of shows were on AI and the European and policy making. AI and policy making. And of course, the European Union is 2004, very soon, is going to be coming out with a comprehensive AI law that they've been working on for almost a decade, and what of course the United States is way behind on it. We're 7 years behind on it. The White House came out with a AI Bill of Rights. You may have seen it in June 2023. Well, the European Union would say, well, I guess it's a good start for America. They cut and pasted the 5 major dimensions on it, and they just about protection and regulation, regulatory issues to help protect society and so on for government of the future. But it's completely toothless, has no regulatory power whatsoever. So if we want to see who is doing a better job than us, let's just look at what the European Union is doing with their new AI law. It's really, very encouraging. The 27 countries in the European Union are going to be 7 years ahead of the United States. And it's not like nobody's doing anything. NIST is working with UNESCO and the European Union. So there is some under the radar stuff going on, but nothing on Capitol Hill because of the clown show that we're operating under. So anyway, I encourage you to sing with me this song, Which Side Are You On? Because it brings together the Pittsburgh steel issue and Detroit. How Detroit would have been a rust bowl like they did in Pittsburgh steel, cities and towns left to die and their history concealed. But the UAW was having none of that. Got auto workers to agree to give up pay and benefits for a future they could foresee. But now GM, Ford, and Chrysler are $10 billion ahead. Did they compensate the workers for saving them instead? No. CEOs paid themselves tens of millions compensation, but did workers get rewarded by auto corporations? No. They got 15 years of trickle down while CEOs got paid 300 times what workers get. So sure, they felt betrayed. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Come on now, which side are you on? See the auto workers striking now for a future they create. They bailed out GM, Ford, and Chrysler in 2008. This strike's about the future and about the past. UAW bailed out automakers and debts they had amassed. What did GOP do? GOP cried socialism, let's make automakers fail. Free market takes care of everything, cause everything's for sale. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Oh, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Well, Detroit would have been a Rust Bowl like they did in Pittsburgh Steel. Cities and towns left to die and their history concealed. But the UAW was having none of that. They got workers to agree to give up pay and benefits for a future they could foresee. But now, GM, Ford, and Chrysler are $10 billion ahead. But did they compensate the workers for saving their ass instead? No. CEOs paid themselves $10 million of compensation. But did workers get rewarded by the auto corporations? No. They got 15 years of trickle down while CEOs got paid 300 times what workers get. So sure they felt betrayed. Which side are you on? Yeah, now, which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Ah, typical. That's Detroit for you. Now, Southern auto workers, where non-union is the norm, are looking very closely at UAW's new reform to draw Southern auto workers into UAW's fold, to unite all the auto workers in a destiny they control. You said, are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Some say this is all about AI, of the future, what's in store. It's the story of Prometheus once again, and we've all been here before. Is this strike about the future, or really about the past? It's about connecting past and future of the working class. Which side are you on? Yeah, now, which side are you on? 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 Which side are you on?
London Breed and Gavin Newsom represent crews and the billionaires, and they don't give a damn about working people. That's why Gavin Newsom vetoed AB 316, which required they have a driver.
My name is Bradley Wiedmeyer, and I'm a member of SEIU 2015. I'm a home care worker in the IHSS program, and as Steve mentioned earlier, there's a two-tiered situation in public service where the bosses use the various differences. Historically, home care has been labeled as domestic, and like with farmers, we are excluded from the Wagner Act still. In San Diego County, we had sub-minimum wage pay in that county. Things have gotten a little bit better, but only through our struggle. And in the city, this division of public sector service into the private nonprofits and the public sector is something that we all have to address. And that's why we're here to show solidarity to the GM workers and all the auto workers in the different companies, because they help set the standards for wages in this society. And because of the crisis, the bosses were able to freeze pay raise, develop their two-tiered system in auto, and that's what we need to fight. And Cruise is owned by GM. And just like the brother that came to say how he was manipulated and fired, even though his superiors approved of the playing of the music to try to drown our previous rally out, this is what happens in these places. Inside Cruise, there are a number of former employees who were fired because they took their driver safety job too seriously. Like you're overdoing it on the safety thing. And so they were fired. And also others asked to be in unions. There's 3,000 safety drivers in California now, according to the DMV, that are still developing these robo-taxis and now the robo-trucks. And we need them in these vehicles until they're safe. They are not safe. That's the other reason that we're here. Cruise is using its power and connection to put on the streets cars that the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration recognized Waymo as the worst in crashes, and Cruise as the third worst. And these are the people that the Democratic Party in San Francisco have allowed to be fast-tracked, which is suppressing the safety development in the other 40 companies that are doing this development. Now, they have no sound sensors. So if you've been noticing, our first responders are having to slow down around the city. It's because it's not safe. There was the Cruise vehicle that ran into an intersection. A siren was going. They had no sense of it. They couldn't see it because it was around a corner. And they smashed into a hook and ladder truck. And so these are the things that they are sabotaging. They are sabotaging our say in AI. That's the other issue in this, is that we need to have our input. Working people are part of going forward, and the bosses, they don't want any say. Now, what happened with AB 316? You know, this shows the opportunity for a real independent working class party, because 90% of the legislature put that bill up, and Newsom vetoed it. Why do those people support that? Because people see that these vehicles are not yet safe, and they should not be on the streets. And, you know, but Newsom's close. He's very close to these people. You know, some of the tech leaders, like Benioff is his godfather of his son. You know, we're talking about a symbiotic relationship here. And these are the bosses and their parties. You know, and I went to City Hall and asked Dean Preston and Aaron Peskin, who might be the mayor if our mayor gets appointed to be the senator, but whatever, to ask them for a tax on the fares that are already being collected for the dislocation of the drivers that's coming. 300,000 semi-tractor trailer truck drivers in California alone, and thousands more in transportation in the city. So, you know, these are the issues that we have to be concerned about. And it does connect with a workers' party, because look what the Democrats are doing. They're sabotaging the safety development. They're letting them go forward. So the outfits and the autonomous vehicle group, the AVIA, says that how their vehicles are safer than human drivers. That is a pile of baloney, because with the record so far, 100 million miles it takes for human drivers to unfortunately have a fatality. We've only had 18 million miles of autonomous vehicles, and there's already way more than one fatality. So, you know, you do the math with the record. That means that they are 5 times more dangerous than human vehicles with what we've seen so far, and that's only 18 million miles when it takes human drivers 100 million miles. There's the woman that died in Tempe, Arizona. There's the Tesla bicyclist who was killed by a Tesla, and on and on. So this claim that they're safer is based on nothing but lies. And the fact is, from the record, that they are not safer. Already, we have that proof. So we need to stop sabotaging safety, and we need to support working people having a say, and they're scrambling all around. Scott Wiener scrambling for legislation in the state. We need AI oversight, the working class, and the only way we're going to get it is to not trust the boss's parties, but to develop our own. Here in San Francisco, we can do it. We have candidates that are running that are independent of these parties, and we need to support them, and we need to build it here. We have the insurance of ranked choice. We don't have crazy Republicans in San Francisco, but we have crazy Democrats who are almost as bad, or maybe they are as bad, or they're worse. Yeah. So let's support a working class party and come out for the United Front Committee for a workers' party. We can do this. We have to do this because, like our environmentalist friends from Sacramento know, the clock is ticking, and we're pretty close to midnight. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Our earlier speaker said, Ricardo, Goldman Sachs says 350 million workers will lose their jobs as a result of AI. So this question of automation and tech and robotics is a life and death question, because in auto, 40% of the workers may lose their jobs. So the question of this is what raises the issue. That's why they're fighting 32-hour work week for 4 hours pay. Because if you lose your job because of automation, your work week should go down. We have millions, we have homeless people sleeping in the streets right now in San Francisco. And yet they're going to get rid of the taxi cab drivers and the Uber Lyft drivers. What are they doing? What are they doing? They're destroying the working class. Our next speaker is Jabez. He's a AI worker and working in technology. Welcome, Jabez.
Yeah, the technology is not ready, but the reason they're pushing it anyways is because, driving is a hard problem, just like from a technological perspective. Like, there's so many things that can happen. Like this is a crazy intersection. There's a bunch of highway driving is different. Oh, it's this one? Okay. So driving is a hard problem, just purely from a technological perspective, because, laws are different. You need to read the sign and apply the laws. You need to understand how different road users interact. You need to listen to sirens and modify your behavior accordingly. That's something that the current iteration is just very bad at. So I find it very interesting that artificial intelligence has been applied to driving, which is such a hard problem, when it hasn't been applied to the legal profession or, the legislature or there's a short story where the first thing that automation automates is middle management, because in fast food things, because you just have to give basic instructions and you just replace, and these people get paid more too. So I think this tells us a very interesting story about the direction of, there are class dynamics ahead of this, even above the profit motive. They really do want to go after the most vulnerable. And the end result of this is that more people are going to become unemployed and fall down the pathway to becoming unhoused and just outside of the system. And we need to tie this to housing. We need to, yeah, because that's what's going to happen, right? It's all related. Right now, people rent burden is defined at 30% of your income, which is a crazy amount already, but people are already paying more than that because of, various factors. So we need to start to tell a story about housing and how to fix housing.
The city managers and Carol Eisen, who's the director of human resources, Mayor London Breed, they want to get rid of public service. And they want to hire as-needed and temporary workers. Now, these people say they're pro-union, but that would mean the busting of civil service. Now, one of the things that happened in San Francisco is massive corruption. There's a corruption scandal. Week after week, people are going to jail. Why are people going to jail? Because they're outsourcing, they're paying off contractors, they're basically destroying civil service. And we have to defend civil service. And also, over 1,000 workers were fired in San Francisco because they refused to take the vaccine. And some of these workers were union leaders on the bargaining committee, and the union, SEIU 1021, actually kicked them off the bargaining committee because they said they hadn't had a vaccine. But the bargaining committee was on Zoom, so they weren't even in contact, and they were kicked off. That was political retaliation. That's one of the things that's going on in San Francisco. The union officials are with the management, supporting privatization, supporting nonprofits. We're saying that if you do public work, you should get public pay. Many of the workers, like Bradley, are doing public work, but they're not getting public pay. So we're going to be there on room 400 on Monday at 2 p.m. speaking out and demanding that if you do public work, you get public pay. You have to keep the rule of the list. You have to defend public workers, because that is critical in what we're doing. And we're saying in the UAW, this whole struggle with the UAW, this struggle is a struggle of all working people. What we're saying is that these UAW strikers, we have to join them. When the Kaiser workers go out, we have to be there with them, because the Kaiser workers, what are the Kaiser workers fighting for? Full staffing. The Kaiser workers are fighting for full staffing, and Kaiser has over $40 billion in their surplus. Why aren't they spending that for staffing? Many workers go to Kaiser and they're getting they're being pushed out the door before they're healed. This is healthcare for profit. We're saying that we support the Kaiser workers. We support the CSU workers, the California Federation of Faculty, who may be going on strike. We're saying that the fight against two tiers is a fight for all workers in this country and around the world. In San Francisco, there are many two-tier workers who are doing the work of public workers and getting substandard pay. There are many two-tier workers at City College, who the faculty are two tiers. We're saying we have to unite the people that are fighting for two tiers, that are fighting for inflation. The COLA is an issue for all workers in this country. Inflation is driving workers against the wall. They can't survive. With gas at $5, $6 an hour, $6 a gallon, how can you survive? How can you get around? And many of these workers have to commute. So the stress and pressure is on workers in this country. We're saying we support the UAW workers. We're saying that all workers in this country have to take up the demands of 32-hour work week for 40 hours pay, the demand of a COLA, cost of living costs, the demand of ending two tiers. We have to say that that's an issue for all working people in this country. That's why we're here today at General Motors owned Cruise. And we just heard from a Cruise worker here who was fired. He was actually working for a subcontractor, was fired, and he had been raising issues of health and safety on the streets of San Francisco. He'd been raising issues about people being angry at him in San Francisco, spitting on him, attacking on him because of these cars stopping in the middle of the street. They're not enforcing the vehicular standards. They're not enforcing the law in San Francisco as far as the production of these cars. Gavin Newsom and London Breed are allowing these cars on the street to violate the law. That's wrong. What we're saying, it's wrong. It has to change. We're saying that working people have to stop this. And the other thing is the effect of AI. We're saying there's nothing wrong with AI, but it should benefit workers. They want to bring in autonomous trucks and autonomous vehicles to get rid of drivers. Millions of people earn their living by driving. What's going to happen to these people who lose their jobs as a result of AI? What we're saying is that working people should benefit from AI. Working people should benefit from automation and technology. Instead, they're being thrown to the roadside. They're ending up on the streets, homeless, and speaking on tents. This is really what's going on in San Francisco and around the world. The government shutdown also, lastly, that's taking place. We have to answer this government shutdown with a general strike. We need to shut down this whole country and say to the Republicans, you want to shut our programs down? Well, we're saying to you, we're going to shut the country down. Working people have to unite and close down this country, and then we can negotiate for full health care for all working people. Then we can negotiate for a 32-hour work week for 40 hours pay. And then we can fight for equal pay for equal work. Let's stand together in solidarity. Victory to the UAW workers. Victory to the UAW workers. Do you want to say another? Ali, any further words for UAW? I know the UAW members have been going to the Reno plant at GM and their solidarity.
It is rare, I think, in a union's history to have two strikes within the course of about a year, within the course of 12 months. And the UAW is doing that. And we're talking about thousands upon thousands of people. This is historic, this is very, very significant. And it doesn't matter whether some of us are auto workers, some of us are academic workers. It doesn't matter what sectors we're working on, but we're fighting against the same things. Two-tier system, union busting, labor-saving technologies, underpay, poverty wages. These are problems that are faced by all UAW workers. These are problems that are faced by the entire American and the world working class. These are problems faced by the majority of the world population. So, we're asking for all of your support to stand with the UAW workers right now, because their struggle is historic and the outcome of this will impact the future of this society. It will impact the future of environmental movements. It will impact the future of work week. It will impact the future of the implementation of the AI. Generations upon generations of working class people will be impacted by the outcome of this very strike. We're living in a very, very historic moment. So let's make sure that we win this round.